Gotta do your intro.
What's going on, everybody? So here we are, at home in the backyard, still sitting outside though, in a rainy day. It's kind of rainy, but not bad. I still got my fleece on, still got my shorts on. I actually look like I just came off trail. But yeah, so we're here, we're home, we're here to answer questions. I know it's been a while since our last video, but we were letting some questions come on in, so yeah, I don't know. You want to get into it?
Yeah. I'm not actually ready. But
he's got the questions. He went through everybody's comments and wrote down any questions you might have. So let's hear them.
All right. So number one, how did we get to Mount Katahdin?
How did we get to Katahdin?
Yeah. I'm not sure if that was like to the top or to the mountain itself.
Well, so we had a heck of a travel day. It's actually up. It's day 0 shows our travel day, but we had to fly to Boston. We rented a car, drove to Bangor. Then we
took a bus.
Bangor. We got on a bus to like Millinocket or close to it, and then the hostel picked us up in a shuttle van. So it was a big travel day.
Lots of different factors.
So how you get to Katahdin though? So we stayed the night at the Appalachian Trail hostel in Millinocket. That night, travel day, and then the morning they take you into Baxter State Park. You meet with the ranger there. You get your pass to climb. You have to have a permit to climb it, and then we climb up the Appalachian Trail, and then that starts our hike once we got up there. So yeah, it was a big travel day, and it takes a lot of coordination, but it all worked out.
Okay, so question number 2. It's about BOC and Sassafras. How did they hold up while we were gone? Someone asked. They did fine.
I think they were good.
Yeah.
I mean, they're ready for us to be home, but and we got to see them a few times. I mean, we saw them twice in Virginia, I think. So yeah, I mean, I think it was good.
Yeah,
they were good. We had lots of phone calls. We were able to text a lot, phone call a lot. But yeah, and they were. Bringing us our cold weather gear to Damascus was a big help. So they were able to help out a lot. But yeah,
that's what I thought too. Okay, so question number 3. I thought this was kind of a funny question, but one guy asked, "Does a transistor radio work in the mountains?" Because he wants to listen to NFL games.
I have no idea.
I don't know. We didn't have a radio.
Yeah, I was able to listen to some NFL though through the internet. I mean, so I'm a Titans fan. The Titans have an app, and you can get on the app and listen to the radio. It doesn't work very well, and then every time you're out of service, it cuts out. It was almost more annoying. A lot of times I would just cut it off because it would just cut in and out so often. But it's possible. I mean, I listen to baseball games that way. I listen to football games that way. So you can stay in touch as long as you have some kind of internet service. Whether or not Transistor Radio works, I don't know, but I guess it would. But,
yeah.
But then you'd have to have the right station available. So I don't know. Just use it through your phone as long as you have cell service, which you get a lot. It depends on where you are. But
I think most of the time you do have cell service. The worst part was like Maine and New Hampshire.
Yeah, it might work.
All right, next question. Did we experience any big weight loss?
Well, I did.
I'll let you speak to. I did not lose.
Did you gain weight?
I didn't gain. I only lost like 3 pounds or something.
Oh, but you did lose pounds?
I did.
Okay.
I did lose 3 pounds.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So I did. So he weighs more than me now. When I got back, anyways. Yeah, I lost about 35 pounds. But I had some to give, so it's fine. It's not like I'm skin and bones or anything right now, so there's nothing to worry about. But I mean, you're burning so many calories, and you can't eat enough. I mean, I guess you can, but I couldn't.
I did.
I could not. I mean, I get there. You know, there's like high calorie stuff. You could just force yourself to eat stuff all the time, but I don't know. I never was like. I was never always hungry. So I mean, I ate what I could, but yeah, we lost. I lost a lot, but I'm sure it'll come back. I'm gonna try not to, but I'll get some of it back.
All right. Okay, so generally speaking, how many people did we encounter? And like what were the shelters like, people-wise?
Yeah.
So like going south, if you're asking about a bubble, there is no bubble.
No.
The largest group we had at one point was 7 people. We
7 true southbounders.
7, yeah. We woke up at a campsite with them, and then we would end at the end of the day in the same spot, same shelter. And
Yeah,
we did that for about a week.
And even during the day, we barely ever saw them.
Well, like we didn't hike with them during the day.
We just kind of had the same mileage goals, so we would see everybody at the end of the day. But that only lasted, like Stranger said, a week.
And yeah, so like going south, there's not many people. You have a couple places. Like there was one place in Pennsylvania, I can't remember the name of the mountain. There's just like people everywhere, or like the Smokies, there's people everywhere. Mount Washington, but like I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, in some of the weekends, nice weekends, you would see more weekend hikers, section hikers. But that group of 7. So I would say, true southbounders, we met that 5 plus a couple more, and they all finished. We stayed within a couple. You know, there were 2 guys that finished a couple weeks ahead of us that we first met in the 100. 3 of the other guys we first met in the 100, and then 2, there's a couple that was hiking that we first met in Bethel, Maine. So everybody that we really saw the whole time of true southbounders, we met them first in Maine, and then we were just kind of always within a few days of each other, it seems like. So yeah, there's people out there, but when you all kind of have the same mileage goals, after a while talking to everybody, we all had a similar finish time around the beginning of November. So we all pretty much were doing the same thing every day. So if you get a day behind, you know, you stay a day behind. And then the only other time that we saw a lot of thru hikers was the northbound bubble that we passed through.
I was going to say that too.
So there was a southern Vermont, I think it was, where we started counting. It was like 3 days in a row, we saw 60 or 70 northbounders each day. So that was definitely their huge bubble going north that we passed through. And so the shelters then, like, they would be people everywhere. There'd be tents everywhere. There'd be people in the shelter.
Yeah.
And then a lot of the shelters, especially down here, especially towards the end, a lot of the shelters were empty. But there'd be the occasional section hiker. And then we avoided the shelters mostly anyways. So it wasn't that big a deal if there were a lot of people there or not. But
yeah. And there's this, I just thought this was a funny story. But when we were in the 100, the first couple of days, we didn't get rain. It didn't rain the first couple of days, right?
Right.
And we were doing fine. And then we had our first rainy day come in, and we haven't been seeing anybody. So we were like, okay, let's just go sleep in the shelter, like because it's gonna get rain. It's gonna rain. We don't want to get wet. We get to the shelter, and there are like 15 to 20 people there.
So many people.
We haven't seen anybody since we started. Pretty much. There's like 2 other people, but then there's like 15 people piled up in a 6-person shelter.
Yeah, two shelters in a row. Nobody was there. Didn't rain. One day we get rain. I mean, if it was an 8-man shelter, there were 10 people, 12 people in that shelter. It was packed, and there's no way we were staying in there.
But that was like, I mean, I just think it's a funny story.
And they were probably mostly north. Well, there was a few southbounders in there too. That was a mix. A lot of up north, Maine through Vermont, you'll have a mix of northbounders and southbounders at each shelter. But yeah, really wasn't that many people.
Yeah, we
really didn't. I mean, it's not like I think it's just not like going north. It's just a different group of people. When you're going, you know, the group that goes north, there's just huge groups that are all starting at the same time. And southbound, there's probably, counting us, there's probably 5 people that actually started the same day we did. So it's just a lot less people.
Oh, and then I actually have the number. I kept track of the number of people that we met going south, whether it be either true Sobos or flip-flops. I only counted people going south. It was about like 21 people that we met.
On the whole trip?
On the whole trip. We met 21 southbounders, either flip-flopping or just through hiking south.
Yeah. So overall, that's not very many.
Not a ton at all. And then there was maybe 10 unknown people. Like, we would read logs, we'd see their name signed, or even people that we hiked with talked about them, but we never actually met them. So yeah, that's not a lot of people at all. Okay. Next question. Well, why did we through hike?
Why not?
Yeah, that was pretty much it. It's just like, why not do it? Just to see if we can do it.
I know. I mean, I've thought about it for a long time. I thought it'd be fun for a long time, and the timing was good. I convinced him he wanted to go, so.
We did a lot of section hikes. If you watch our videos, we talked about that a lot. We did a lot of section hikes before. Lots on Roan Mountain, but mainly pretty much through Damascus to the Smokies.
Yeah.
Almost everything in between. Yeah, it's just over weekends. And then I was graduating high school. He was able to take off work, and we were just like, yeah, this is the time to do it.
Let's try it.
We just wanted to see if we could. We did.
We did.
So, a follow-up question to that is, how much planning did it take to make it through hike? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it takes a lot of planning. I mean, the main thing is just figuring out your budget and getting the money for it. You gotta save for it. You gotta figure out how much you need. You gotta figure out how your house is gonna run when you're not there. So, I think that's the most planning, and then gear and making sure you know what you're doing. But it's not too complicated. It really isn't. You just figure out how much money you need to keep whatever bills you might have. You got to continue to pay those. You figure that out, and then you figure out how much money you need to go hike, and that's the biggest planning I think that there is. So,
and this is a multi-part question. Another part of it was, how do we make time for it? But I mean, you pretty much answered that. I mean,
yeah.
You just have to make sure you have everything in order.
Yeah.
To leave.
I mean, I was able to get time off from work. They were very supportive. They understood that it's kind of the trip of a lifetime and something I wanted to do. So they were supportive about it. They let me go, and then they had me back. So I've already started back. And yeah, everybody's been great about that. So, and then honestly, if you're at a place that tells you no, you can't go, I mean, just maybe find a different job when you get back. Go ahead and go anyways.
We met a guy who did that, actually.
Yeah.
He didn't like his job.
Yeah.
And then he just said he just quit, did the trail, and then he's gonna get back and find a new job.
There's probably a lot of that out there. There's probably more of that out there than there is like me, who just gets time off and then goes back. I mean, a lot of people who just don't like their job, or they're in between jobs anyways. You see that a lot, but I don't know. If you like your job and they're cool about it, that's certainly an option too. So.
Okay. Okay, so someone was asking about the whites. He was mainly asking you. He said, so what are the physical requirements to hike the whites? And did we train for it?
Like if you're older?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, they're definitely harder than hiking down here. I mean, it definitely is. Especially if, yes, you have to, I would train. Definitely train and be in some kind of shape before you try to go do anything long-term in the whites. I mean, you can go for a day or two and figure it out, but if you're going to try to through-hike the whites or something like that, or if you're trying to compare doing a section there or doing a section down here, it's definitely harder. But it's doable. I mean, I trained for a year and a half or so. I mean, I was running and going to the gym and everything like that, just trying to be in shape as best as I could. I knew it wasn't going to be enough. It's never going to be enough, but just get in shape the best you can and go for it. I mean, it's definitely harder up there than it is in the south, but
Yeah, I feel like you're never gonna be in shape for the whites until you hike the whites. I mean, unless obviously you're all the time hiking. Like,
I mean, I think in general, even northbounders, they'll hike the entire trail to the whites, and then they have to slow down in the whites. You know, they'll be doing 20, 25s before you get there, and most of them will have to slow it back down, you know, to 15s or something, just because it is that much more difficult. And they've got all those miles behind them, and they still have to slow down. So just keep that in mind. I mean, a full day of hiking in the whites is not a 15 or 20 mile day. It's a 10 mile day. So you just have to keep that in your head when you're planning your days out. It's doable.
Yeah. And like he said, he was running. That's pretty much all I did too. I mean, I was in track and field and cross country. So that was my like training, I guess. I didn't do it specifically for hiking, but I had some endurance and stuff like that. But the only physical requirement I could think of was just like lung capacity. That helps.
Yeah, and your knees. I mean, if you have bad knees or something like that,
oh yeah,
it's probably not good because there's a lot of stairs. It is a lot of rock climbs and stair climbs, which are worse on the joints, I think. But yeah.
All right. Okay. Someone wanted to know what were the logistics and shuttling like throughout the whole trail.
Yeah, so that was like my least favorite part. I complained about that, I think, to Stranger every single time we had to go do a resupply because I was never looking forward to it. But it actually was never really that bad. It's not that bad. Worst case, we're hitchhiking, and the only thing that I didn't like about that was just the unknown. Like we would say, okay, we're gonna hitchhike in, and you just don't know how long that's gonna take. But every time we did, it never took that long.
Yeah.
We got picked up pretty quick every time. Everybody was nice, very super chill about it, got us where we needed, and we got back. And then there's, I mean, other times where if you don't want to hitchhike, there's almost every major road crossing or road into town, there's shuttles listed on Far Out, or there's phone numbers of people who will come give rides. And you just start texting some of those numbers, and it's going to cost you, most of the time, it'll cost you $15, $20 or whatever, however far away town is. But that's always an option.
But we chose to hitchhike a couple times instead of doing a shuttle, right, to avoid the fee.
Just to try to get a free ride. And
yeah.
And then there's comments on Far Out too where they'll say, oh yeah, I hitchhiked in, it took me 2 minutes to get a ride. So there's comments of people, maybe there's some areas that takes longer, some areas that don't. But in general, I mean, when you're crossing these roads going into these towns, they're all trail towns. Everybody there knows that these hikers are coming and going all the time, especially during the summer months. So there's a lot of people out there that help. So it was never that bad. But you've always got shuttles, you've always got hitchhiking. And then there's also, if you're gonna stay at a hostel, a lot of times the hostel will have a shuttle, either free included with the stay, or maybe they just charge a little bit extra to come get you, but that's always an option too if you're staying.
I like this question. So, which state would we recommend to do a section hike?
What state?
Which state? Yep.
Man, I still think, especially if it's one of your first, I would say Shenandoah's in Virginia.
Yeah. I was gonna say, a lot of Virginia, even coming, it's not as beautiful as the Shenandoahs, but it's still beautiful. A lot of Virginia has just like really great spots.
Actually, yeah, you're right. I mean, there's the Triple Crown in Virginia would be a fun, like, few day hike.
Yeah.
And then you could go down and do the Grayson Highlands to Damascus. That section is gorgeous.
Oh yeah, the Grayson Highlands has the ponies. So if you like that, you can pet some ponies.
And the Shenandoahs are fun because it's so easy to get food. I mean, there's so many fun places to stop, and you can get food if you need it. Or then there's even like lodges right there in the park too. So I mean, if you wanted a night break, I mean, it's really easy to get. So especially if it's one of your first sections, if you're trying to do a long section for the first time, I think that would be one of the easier ones to do. And I mean, it's still good hiking. It's the trails trails aren't that easy. There's still a lot of climbing. I mean, it's fun hiking. There's still a lot of great views, but it's easy to get in and out of. It's easy to get food or bail if you need to. But yeah, I guess I would probably say Virginia out of all of them. Just there's a lot of options there.
Yeah, I like Virginia too. That's what I was gonna say. So, well, I would say like maybe North Carolina or Tennessee, but they crisscross so much you can't just pick one of them to hike. You'd have to be like hiking both.
Yeah, I'd always say Roan Mountain area. I mean, obviously that was one of our favorites. It still is. So I would always recommend that for a couple day hike if you wanted.
Okay. Oh yeah, and then what was our favorite state?
Yeah,
it's hard. What we just recommended is pretty much our favorite.
It's got to be, I think.
Probably. I mean,
it's got to be Virginia. Virginia.
Yeah.
Virginia was gorgeous. I mean, I'm partial to Tennessee and North Carolina too. So I mean, I think that whole area was beautiful in the fall too. So we hit it perfect timing for really great views.
I actually really enjoyed Georgia too.
Georgia was nice.
I enjoyed Georgia. A lot of the like it reminded me of actually like Tennessee. There's just a lot of like rhododendron groves and stuff like that. It was just very similar terrain. So if you like Tennessee, North Carolina, you'll like Georgia
and Virginia. They're all similar. So
yeah.
Basically, we're saying anything after Maryland.
Yeah.
And Maryland wasn't bad, but I mean, like Pennsylvania, I don't know. I wouldn't recommend it. It was rocky.
Yeah.
I don't remember it being spectacular views. There's a lot of roads.
Yeah.
A lot of roads. New Jersey was pretty.
New Jersey.
I remember really liking New Jersey. Felt like New York. There was a lot of people, a lot of roads. And then of course, you know how we feel about New Hampshire and Maine, but.
Okay, so do we plan on doing any more YouTube in the future, in general? Just YouTube?
Well, we're doing one right now.
Yeah, I mean,
we could do some gear videos. We could do some other into hike videos. I don't know. We could always YouTube a hike if we do a section hike or a weekend hike or something. I don't know when that's going to be. Honestly, I'm going to need a lot of gear if I even just go out for the weekend. I mean, I pretty much wore out most of my stuff.
Oh yeah, like a new backpack and stuff.
I'm gonna need a new backpack, probably a new tent, or I could just go back to my hammock, which is actually I probably would do that. But yeah, new shoes. I mean, we need a lot of stuff before we go back out. But yeah, I mean, I'll definitely go back out, and we can certainly film it and YouTube it, or maybe some other ideas for this channel. I mean, if we do anything photography related or anything like that, but it's all gonna be about going out in the outdoors, whatever we do. And there's a cat.
Okay. Would we change anything about our food if we were able to do another long hike?
Food?
Yeah.
Change it? I don't think so.
So like, our current food situation, I mean, what we had there at the end.
Yeah.
I wouldn't change anything about that. It's definitely changed since Maine.
We started, yeah.
Yeah, but like what we ended with, I mean, we were doing fine. We found a lot of good food that we genuinely enjoyed eating every day.
And yeah, we kind of got into a routine too, so you know how much you need to eat and you know how much you need to buy, and it was a lot easier for us to do it, especially at a grocery store resupply. We knew how much we had to get, and we could just kind of go. We got faster at them because we could just go in and get those things that we always get. But I don't know. I don't know that I would change a lot about what we were eating. I guess maybe I should have got more calories, but I'm not sure how I would have done that.
Okay. Someone wanted to know if we put anything else in the food bags when we hung them up. And
not usually. In the Smokies, yes.
Yeah.
In the Smokies, they're very strict. Put toothpaste in there. Just anything that smells, has any kind of scent, put it in there. If you have deodorant, put it in there. But for the most part, I mean, the toothpaste, I just kept that in my tent. But other than food, I don't think they're. I mean, my stove. I would usually put my stove and the cook pot in there. You're cooking in that, and then that full pack that we use to heat it up. I usually put that in there. But anything that you use for your food every day, that's what I would keep in there.
Yeah, the Smokies was like the only time we put everything in there. But
Yeah.
it's just because they're a lot more strict about it. But I mean, we always kept our food away from our stuff. It's just not the toothpaste and the deodorant. It's okay. Someone wanted to know, when I slept in the shelters, like, what did I sleep on other than that Z-Light pad I had? And nothing. I only slept on the Z-Light pad. They asked if I had like another small pad. No, I did not. So I pretty much laid my Z-Light pad out for my upper body. My legs wouldn't get anything, and I would just put some extra clothes I had for my legs.
I was there at the end when you had that underquilt for your hammock.
Oh yeah.
You could like double up the Z pad for his upper body and then fold the hammock down there at the bottom for your legs or something.
Yeah.
Or just throw some extra clothes. But when it was cold, you needed those extra clothes. So.
Yeah. But yeah, and if you're wondering, no, it was not comfortable. The Z-Light pad is not comfortable at all.
That's only a kid can do that. I'm telling you. There's no way I could have done that. There's no way I could have.
I mean, it pretty much feels like you're sleeping on the ground. But
that's part of the reason. I don't know if that's the question, but part of the reason that I chose to go with a tent was for that very reason. Was for the nights where I knew that we would have to be in a shelter. If I carry a tent, I'm going to carry my thicker pad. If I was in a hammock, I wouldn't have carried that, and I never would have been able to sleep in a shelter. So I went with the tent. That's definitely one of the reasons. A tent and a pad, so that when we did have to get in a shelter, I could use that pad and sleep.
Someone also asked me why I only had one pole. I started out with two.
Yeah, I took one.
He started out with two. He broke one. I gave one to him, right? I gave it to you, or did you buy one?
No, well, you gave me one for a day, and then I got back and bought one, gave it back to you, and then I broke another one.
And so I gave him
And he wasn't even using them most of the time anyways.
No.
So he gave me another one, and then it was just like,
I just prefer, I don't know why, it's not any easier. I just personally prefer one pole. I don't know, I just like to have a free hand, so that's why I only had one. I just gave him mine and then didn't buy another one because I didn't need it. Okay. How much did our packs weigh?
Last time I weighed mine with food and water, it was in the 30s, low 30s, I think, like 30, 31. That's with food. That was with
2 days of food.
Was it 2 days?
2 days, yeah.
So 2 days of food. At the end was probably 5 pounds of food. You know, usually you want to think about 2 pounds a day for food, but that was in Tennessee, and I know we were eating more than 2 pounds a day. So that's probably 5 pounds of food, and another couple pounds of water was in there. So without that, I was probably in the 20s, low 20s.
Yeah.
He was more.
The last I checked, I only checked with 2 days of food and 1 liter of water, so I don't know the base weight, but that was with the food and water, it was 43 pounds. Yeah, so
that's too much.
So when we resupplied for like 4 days, it got up there. But
yeah, and I can try and when we do we can do like a gear review. I can try and put everything back in there and weigh it and see where we were with no food, no water.
Yeah.
Because when I left, my base weight was it was less than 20. It was 18 or 19. So it'd be interesting to see what it was at. I know I did add some stuff. I added like a whole set of clothes, socks. So I did definitely add some things. So it'd be interesting to see. But we can put that on there when we do another one, gear video.
What was the scariest night on trail? And someone asked about our night at the Wapiti shelter.
Yeah, that was not the scariest night. There was no problems there.
So if you don't know, the Wapiti shelter, we were sleeping there one night. It's got some history to it, And then we were joking around. We're like, if we don't post in the morning, you know, something happened. And then the next day we couldn't find service. Or the day after that. Or like, we didn't have service for a long time, so we couldn't get the video uploaded. And so it was just coincidence. It was not,
It was bad timing.
Nothing happened. We slept at, like, pretty much, we didn't sleep in the shelter, but right next to it. No one else was there. It was a good shelter.
Yeah.
We had a good night.
It was fun. The scariest one's probably up on Mount Madison
Yeah.
with that storm.
Yeah. So right before we went up onto Mount Madison doing the presidentials, we slept at the tree line right before, because it's exposed ridgeline for 14 miles, no trees, just rocks and boulders. So we slept right at the tree line just so we could have an easier day hiking the presidentials, and we had one crazy storm that night. I'm in a hammock, and I mean, my tarp was just flapping around everywhere. They were skinny trees because it was so high elevation, so the trees were just like wobbling, and it was just crazy. And then when it would thunder, I mean, you'd hear the thunder. It'd be like a 10-second long thunder because it just echoes everywhere, and it was just crazy.
It was right on top of us, and it
Yeah.
lasted a good 20-30 minutes right on top of us. I mean, there was a lot of lightning, a lot of wind. I was hunkered down in the tent, like it felt fine down there, but I mean, I had to yell a couple times to just make sure he was still there. I'm like, you still around? He's like, yeah. But yeah, and then there was another storm that night, but it wasn't directly over us. But after a while, you start hearing it rumbling again. I was like, oh man, we're going to do this again. But it kind of missed us a little bit. But yeah, there were several storms that night. But I would say that, especially that first storm that went right overhead, that was probably the scariest night for sure. And really, I mean, that's probably the only one that was scary. I think there really wasn't a whole lot that would have been scary storms-wise anyways.
So how was our shoes at the end? How many pairs did we go through? And like, where did we change out our shoes when we had to get new pairs?
Well, so
They were asking about how they were at the end too, because we said we were going to try to stretch it to make it to 700 miles.
Well, at the end they were fine.
Yeah.
I would have gone further. Like if we still had miles to go, I would not have bought shoes. So the pair that we ended on had over 700 miles on them. We bought those like near Roanoke, I think, Virginia. Right when they came up.
Yeah. So
we got that that was over 700 miles, and I would still wear them. They're fine. They're not fine. The tread is getting worn out, but I would still put plenty more miles on them. So that just shows you the difference in the trail. Because up north, so the shoes that we started with already had a couple 200-300 miles on them when we started. And so I think we first replaced shoes like 200 miles in at North Conway.
Yeah.
Right after Mount Washington.
Because my foot was going through the shoe.
So that was the first pair. I think we bought another pair in New Jersey.
Yep.
Right before, and we got those because the pair that we'd got, they weren't real bad, were they? Yeah, my tread was coming off.
Yeah, your tread came off
on the day that we got out.
Yeah.
So then we bought another. That one had like 500 miles on it, just under actually. And then we got another pair in New Jersey that we took through. I think we got those all the way to. Did we get all the way to Harper's Ferry?
I think we did.
And then we bought a pair in Harper's Ferry.
Did we get a pair in Harper's Ferry? I don't remember a pair.
Had to have.
Did he take us to REI?
No way. So we bought one in New Hampshire. We bought one in New Jersey. We had to, or maybe we only bought 3.
Oh, we went to a.
We did go to REI.
We went to an REI somewhere. And we were in a motel.
That was New Hampshire.
That was New Hampshire. That was North Conway.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think my brother took us. We definitely went to an REI.
Oh yeah, we did. So I think we got new shoes.
Did
maybe
you get shoes there?
It's hard to remember.
I might have to look that one up. But yeah, we bought at least I think we bought 4 pair.
4, yeah.
And then that one took us. See, that wouldn't be enough to go all the way from maybe New Jersey. Maybe it was New Jersey down. Yeah. That sounds right though. Sounds like we would have bought one in Harper's Ferry and then bought another one almost at the end of Virginia. Yeah, that would have been 500 miles. So that's probably right. And then 700 to go. It's a lot of shoes.
Something like that, yeah. So
of
4
shoes.
pairs total. And then where you asked where we got them. It's just when we stopped in towns. We try occasionally there's an REI.
Yeah, they have the best selection usually. We were getting Hokas, and then the last pair though we bought online and shipped them home because we knew that we were meeting up with my wife and she could bring them. So
yeah,
they brought us the shoes we ordered, and any other time was just whenever we were in town we would try to plan it out that way. It actually worked out pretty good. We had good timing in between each one, where we were able to pretty much get them right when we needed them.
Okay. So what app do we use to make the videos? Who makes the videos and when do they do it?
Yeah, so I made the videos. I did it every night before going to sleep. So I would get in the tent, put everything together, put the music in there that we all love so much.
Someone asked who picked the music, and I picked most of
it. Well, yeah. I would pick the day, but he downloaded me a library to use. So I use the app Power Director, is an app that I use to make them, and there's like royalty free music available on there. So he went through and downloaded different sets, and then I would just make the video and I would just pick whatever it felt like. You kind of watch it, you can kind of feel like the foggy ones, they usually have something different. So I don't know, but yeah, I would make them every night before going to sleep. I never wanted to get behind on it because, like if you have a day off or something or you're in town, I didn't want to just be sitting there making 4 videos or 5 videos. So I tried to make sure I did it every night, and I pretty much did.
Even if it wasn't that night, it'd be like the next day, right? Like,
yeah, well, there was definitely a few times where I'd only get about halfway through and I'd start falling asleep. And then I was like, well, I'll get up in the morning and finish it. But yeah, almost all the time I would just do it that night.
So what was our schedule before we started for the trail? Start date and end date?
Well, so June 13 we were going to start. We already knew that. And then the original goal was to finish on his birthday, which was November 4th. It's a Saturday, November 4th. That would have been 145 days. And we felt like that was pretty aggressive, but we felt like it was doable. So that was the original goal, and we ended up beating that. So we finished on November 1st. We could have easily finished October 31. We just couldn't get a ride that day. So we just kind of slow walked a few days after the Smokies, and then made it a nice little short day on November 1st. So that was the original goal, was November 4. We beat it by a few days.
And so how many zeros and Neros did we have? This is a multi-part question.
I'd have to go back and look at the Neros. There was a good bit of Neros. It was probably it was over 10, I think. But the zeros were only 7. So we had 7 total days where we did not hike at all. And we never did more than 1 in a row.
Yeah.
We always had just 1 day off. So we did have one where maybe we did 5 miles to town, and then we would take off, and then we take off the rest of the next day. So you'd have a Nero and then a 0, but we never did have 2 zeros in a row. And then there were a few days where we just had Neros. And the Neros, so we counted Neros anything less than 10 miles was what we counted that as. So technically, even like the first day when we hiked 12 miles, but only 6 of them count for the AT or whatever, so that one technically counted as a Nero. So there was another one in the 100 where the river was washed out and we had to backtrack. So we actually did like 13 miles that day, but it only counted as 8. So that one goes down as a Nero. So it's all just, we counted them just based on how many Appalachian Trail miles we did. But I think it was 12 or 14 or something. I can't really remember, but
How many hostel stays and how many rainy days were there
yeah, I'm gonna have to check my stats for that one.
for the hostel stays?
Yeah, there weren't many.
And do you know the rainy days yet?
Yeah, let me check that and then we'll put the numbers up. All right, we're back with some numbers.
All right.
What's the question?
So, how many rainy days did we have? And so out of 142 days, the amount of rainy days we had was 52.
It's about a third, a little over a third. And that was I kind of went through, and any day where it actually rained on us, or rained. So that doesn't really mean that it rained all day on all those days, but it did rain on us those days. Give or take. I think that's about right.
So how many zeros and neros we had? So we knew our zeros. We had 7 zeros, and we had 16 neros.
16. So 16 days less than 10 miles.
Let's see. And then someone wanted to know how many hostel stays / motels and hotels. And let's see. I don't have a real number for it. I think that's the only hostel one.
Yeah, so 9 times in a hostel, 10 times at a hotel,
Oh.
and 8 times with family. So that is, what do we got there? 26 nights out of 143 were we in a hostel, a hotel, or with family. And we had 95 nights in the tent and 19 nights in a shelter. So that's a lot.
That's a lot of outside time.
That's a lot of outside time. So 81% of the nights we were in a tent or a shelter on the whole trip. So yeah. And I don't think, like, some of the family nights, well, and even, like, if we didn't have family, I don't think they would have been hostel or motel stays. Not all of them. We probably would have just skipped a couple of them and just done another few nights outside. Wouldn't have been a big deal. And then some of the hostel stays are because we zeroed. Like, we zeroed in Monson, so that's 2 nights there. And then most of the family nights were because of zeros also. Like, we zeroed with 4 different times with family.
Yeah.
Is that right? 4?
I think, yeah.
2, yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4, yeah. So 4 different times we zeroed with family, so that's a bunch of the nights there. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the numbers.
That's the numbers. What other numbers?
I think that was all the numbers. Yeah, that was everything that people asked.
Is there anything number-wise worth mentioning?
Oh, okay.
Anything else fun? I thought this was fun. So out of 143 days, 102 of the days we climbed over 3,000 feet. That's a lot. It's a lot of climbing. 76 of those days, 76 out of 143, so over half, we climbed over 4,000 feet. That's a lot. That's a lot of climbing. So we climbed Everest like about 18 times, Mount Everest. Yeah, I think that's about it. There's some fun stats in there though.
Yeah.
And then the bank, we finished, so I don't know if you remember talking about the mileage bank, but we did finish with 45 miles in the bank, which is, that's right. We were 3 days ahead. So the average would have been 15. It's a little over 15 a day is what you wanted to do. So anything over 15 and whatever, 15.2 or something, added to the bank, and anything under took away. So finished 3 days early.
Okay. Oh, has Stranger, which is me, decided what he's going to do next, college or work?
Yeah, have you?
I mean,
I would like to know.
Immediately, I'm going to get just a short-term job. But yeah, I'm going to go to college. So, yeah. To do something. I'm going to go somewhere to do something.
Sometime.
Sometime. Okay. Oh, a lot of people ask this. Did we ever feel like quitting?
Yeah.
Were there any moments where we felt like we wanted to quit?
I mean, yeah, there's always times where you're just like, really, what am I doing out here? But
most of those times were in New Hampshire and Maine. And Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania got really bad.
But I mean, I don't know. Obviously, we didn't, so it was never that bad. We never really wanted to. I mean, we saw it as a challenge, and we wanted to finish it. We wanted to see it through. We started it. We wanted to finish it. That was how I saw it, anyways. And through Maine and New Hampshire was a challenge, but I just kept telling myself, all I have to do is get through this part. And I just wanted to see what it was like hiking in Vermont. I just want a few days in Vermont. Just give me a couple days in New York, and let me just see what that's like. So I knew all I had to do was get through New Hampshire, get through the whites. So you just kind of keep pushing, keep getting through it. Luckily, we never had any kind of major injuries or anything that took us off. So we never really had to worry about that as far as that driving us off trail. But yeah, I mean, there's always a day when it's raining on you again, when you're just like, why am I even out here? But never bad enough. I mean, it was never like I'm convincing him to not go or anything like that. I mean, we were never like that close. Neither one of us was ever like, that's it, I'm out. And then it took convincing from the other one. It was never like that. But
I mean, there was like a day where we went into a town to resupply. It started raining. We were like, we'll just stay.
You know what? Yeah, maybe we'll just wait a minute.
But I mean, even there, we didn't zero or anything. We were back out the next day.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that was as bad as it got in terms of not doing anymore. But yeah, we definitely wanted. Yeah, I mean, it was thought about. I definitely thought about it. It was because it did. Just some parts. It was just pain. It can be so painful. Just climbing mountains all day long, and in the rain, falling all the time. Yeah, but do we have a closer bond? How well did we get along, and were there any disagreements?
Well, there are no disagreements because whatever I say is what we're doing. So, right?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know.
I don't know.
The way we went into it is the way that we ended.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say it's closer.
It's just how we are, I think.
Yeah.
I don't
know. A lot of people wanted to know, how were the ticks, and did we have any injuries or sickness?
Well, I mean, the ticks were not bad at all for us. I mean, we hear a lot of things. Everybody kept saying they were bad, but we never pulled any off of us.
No.
We saw one crawling on my leg one time, I think.
Yeah. Well,
in the 100 or right after the 100.
Yeah, and I saw one on the ground.
Yeah.
It was I just happened to see one crawling on the ground. That was the only other time
That was the only times, and so we never had an issue. None of them ever bit us, and we never saw a bunch of them on us.
Yeah. No bites or anything.
Now, we did do some things before we left. The day before we left, we sprayed all of our clothes. We actually sprayed everything. We sprayed clothes, shoes, backpack. We sprayed everything with permethrin. And then in New Jersey, I think it was, we sprayed our clothes again, just the clothing this time, but we did spray all our clothing there with permethrin. And then, I mean, we had some bug spray, especially up north, but we stopped using bug spray in Pennsylvania.
I was gonna say up north we were using a lot of DEET, and that
probably kept them off. Maybe.
But
I don't know. So between the bug spray and the permethrin, and we never had an issue. So we know other people said that they maybe saw a lot of, they camp at the end of the night, they're finding 3 or 4 on them, but no, we never did. So it just
I don't.
wasn't that bad.
I guess the permethrin works. I don't know. And so were there any injuries or sickness?
Yeah, no. So the sickness, I would definitely attribute that to the fact that we never stayed in crowded shelters. We never stayed in. I mean, we only stayed in shelters if there was like one other person there, or in the Smokies when we had to. But those were big enough shelters that you could fit 3 or 4 or 5 people in there, and it wasn't crowded. So we did not have any kind of sicknesses. We never got sick. And then injuries, no. I mean, other than overuse, soreness. I mean, there's always something that hurt. There's still stuff that hurts. Still knees and ankles and feet hurt. But nothing that was like an actual injury. It
like
was just
where we had
sore.
to get off. Yeah.
I mean, I'd say the worst was the first 10 days or so. I mean, that's when my knee was hurting, my feet were hurting. But it was nothing that lasted so long, or nothing that you couldn't control with maybe a couple ibuprofen in the morning or something. I mean, I could get through it every time, so it was never really that bad. So
I mean, I had to buy like an ankle brace too. My ankle was getting really bad, but yeah.
But it was never anything that kept you from actually doing anything. So we got pretty lucky with that for sure, because we had some falls. We definitely had some falls that could have been bad. A couple times, like I fell where my leg gets caught up underneath me, and I'm like, man, I don't know how I didn't just twist my knee, or fall and not hit anything. We've had some good falls where you land and you're just like, man, all these rocks around here, and I didn't hit a single one. So I mean, we definitely got lucky, I'd say, in that aspect. But yeah, no injuries.
Okay, so can we do a gear review?
Yeah, we can do that. We can do that in a separate video.
Yeah.
We can go inside and get all our stuff together and just kind of show you. I mean, the last one we did one in like New Hampshire or something, because it was a rainy day, probably in New Hampshire, I think. And not a lot's changed, but there's a few things that we can certainly go through our gear, and we can talk about how it held up over the miles, because there's a lot more miles on that gear now than when we showed it in New Hampshire. So
and we'll do separate ones too, because I've got a hammock set up, he's got a tent.
Yeah,
so
we can show that.
Someone wanted to know what kind of watches we are using, because they want to be able to record elevation and all that.
So we've got Garmin's, Garmin Instinct
2X. Yeah.
So both of us have the same. There's different colors, but
they are very nice. I honestly do recommend, if you're looking for a watch, a heavy duty watch.
It's rugged, so it's not touch screen. It's not super fancy. I mean, they're pretty basic on how they look, but they do all the GPS stuff. You can track you can track an activity, a hike or a walk. And then it reads you out, you know how many miles you've gone, how many feet you've climbed, and it does a lot of other GPS things and a lot of activities on there too that you can track. So it's pretty cool. I love them. I tracked the entire Appalachian Trail on it, so every day there's a walk or a hike. So I've got every mile of the AT mapped on my Garmin.
And if you're just wondering, on GPS mode, it's like 28 hours of life battery.
Yeah.
And then like off GPS mode, you can go over a month of battery. So
yeah, I would charge mine like every other day almost. Like I could record a whole day of hiking, about 2 days in a row, and then you probably want to go ahead and charge it up. And we've got our battery packs that we use to charge the phone, so you can charge the phone, headlamp, and your watch. It doesn't take that much power. It didn't really take away from our battery packs or anything.
So what was the cost of the trip?
So we can get into that in a little more detail in another video too, I think, but
maybe in like the gear video or something.
Yeah, we'll figure it out. But we'll probably do another video where we really dive into that, and just kind of go over the costs and where it was spent.
And then someone wanted to know what we were using for navigation.
Far out.
Yep. It's just an app. an app called Far Out, and that's pretty much all we used, right?
Yeah, and you do have to pay for it. You have to buy the maps. So the Appalachian Trail is broken up into like 5 maps or something. I don't know how many, but so every you get to the end of that map, you got to buy the next map. What is it, like $15? It wasn't that much, right?
It depended on the map. Like Virginia was the most expensive because it was longer or whatever. But
well, it was even broken up in 2.
Yeah.
But yeah, and it's a cool app. It's got all the waypoints. It's got water, shelters, roads, parking lots. You know, all the mountain peaks. It shows you all of that stuff, where they are. And it shows where you are, and it uses satellite, not cell service to do it. So you can always use it.
Yeah, even when you have completely no service at all, it knows where you are.
And so you can see how many miles away something is, and then you can leave comments. So if there's a water source coming up, someone can comment that this water source is dry, and we can read those comments. So then we know not to rely on a water source. So yeah, it's definitely it's pretty much the standard out there. I'd say 90% of the people use it. Definitely would recommend, if you're going to go on the AT for any amount of time, even if you're going for a section hike, I would recommend getting that app and using it.
All right, we're getting to the most asked questions. Why did we go Sobo, and would we recommend it?
No Sobo. Yeah, well, so we went Sobo because we had to, timing wise. We started June 13th. That's not enough time unless you're really flying to go northbound, because you have to be at Katahdin. They usually close it around the middle of October. So we had to go south, but after going south because we had to, I would say that if I was going to hike again, I would probably go south again. Mm-hmm. I mean, we can't compare it to a northbound because we didn't do it, but I think a lot of things really worked out well for us. I think the weather, obviously it was wet, but it's going to be wet. But I think, like, temperature-wise, we only had a few really hot days right there around Harper's Ferry. Yeah. And we only had one super, super cold night.
And that was our last night.
And that was the very last night. So we never got, even northbounders who, if you start in March, you're going to have a lot of cold nights potentially. And I don't know, I'm not big on sleeping in the cold. I like hiking in the cold. I don't like sleeping in the cold. I think that worked out great. On top of that, I think the trails were nowhere near as crowded. So we had a lot of stealth campsites to ourselves, a lot of the shelters to ourselves, which we like that. I mean, so if you want that social aspect of it, maybe you should go north, because there'll
trail
be
magic.
A lot more of it. Yeah, you'll get a lot more trail magic. There'll be a lot more people. So if you want that social aspect of it, just personally, I didn't. I don't think Stranger does, but no. So we were good with the way it was.
And we were out there to be out in the woods, not to be in a social gathering. So
I also think, I think getting the hardest part over with. I can't imagine like hiking 1,800 miles just knowing that you've got the whites waiting for you. I mean, I was tired at the end, and if I had to get all the way down to the Smokies and then do something like the whites, that would have been tough. It would have been tough. So getting that over with, and then just being able to kind of cruise after that, I don't know. I liked it. I think that was probably better for us, and I think it worked out pretty good for us that we went southbound. And I definitely think that if I were to go again, I would go south again.
Yeah, and that was the next question too.
If
you would go again, which one would you do?
Yeah, I would go south.
And it is hard to recommend one because we only went south. So, but I don't know. We
got to finish in the fall. I mean, we had all the fall color through the Smokies and stuff. It was I think I would go south again. But
oh, and someone asked us if we would still go south because they were worried about things closing, or like some hostels were out of stock. It was just annoying.
It was annoying,
we
but we made it
work. Yeah. You just buy.
You just know that you're not going to have, you can't be too picky on the food by mid-October, because you're basically just going to get what you can get. Now, even at those hostels that had limited resupply, like, we could have hitchhiked into a grocery store or something. Yeah. It wasn't like we were absolutely stuck. Or if you got there and they had no food, you weren't just out of luck.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, we could have gone. Like the one in Roan Mountain, you know, there's a Dollar General probably a mile from there, or less even. I don't know. So we could have got to there and gotten some more food. It wouldn't have been the end of the world, but you just make it work. And, you know, we got enough food to get us to the next stop. And so it worked out. I don't think that would not deter me. That one thing would not deter me from going south again.
All right. Are we planning any more long hikes? The Triple Crown, AT again?
Not right now. Not right now. I'm tired.
Yeah. No, nothing.
I think of those three, I think I would do the AT again before I did the other ones.
I mean, I think if I were to do another one, I would do the CDT.
The CDT I think would be pretty neat. I mean it'd be neat, but I don't know. I don't know. Not right now. We'll see. I'm still working, so I gotta go back to work for a little while. We gotta rebuild.
Yeah, and I gotta start school and get my stuff together. So
maybe in a few years. But I think I would just kind of do the AT again if I were to do it again.
And most asked question, what was our favorite part of the trail? Our least favorite part? Best hostels, views, restaurants, all that.
Man, I couldn't even tell you best restaurants.
I had one in mind. I did put it on here because I did have an answer in mind. So I was trying to eat a burger in every state that I've been in. And so my favorite burger was probably in Vermont, right?
Yeah.
Manchester Center. It was a place called Depot Street Burgers. They had like their own Depot Street sauce, whatever it may be. And I enjoyed it. Best burger, I think. But that was the most memorable restaurant.
That Port Clinton Hotel.
Oh, yeah.
That had a good restaurant.
Yeah, the Port Clinton. We got a steak, right?
Yeah, the Port Clinton Hotel is like, it's actually a restaurant, and then it's got some basically hostel rooms above it. And we stayed there. I think we were the only ones staying there. But since it's right over that restaurant, we did go down and eat dinner at that restaurant. It was pretty good.
And it's got a candy shop next door.
Yeah.
And we bought quite a bit of candy, but it was fun.
So favorite?
Yeah, favorite part of the trail, least favorite part. So, and we kind of answered it earlier.
Yeah, least favorite part. I mean, either the Pennsylvania rocks. I just feel like that absolutely destroyed my feet for the rest of the whole trip too. But Pennsylvania, and then I mean, just New Hampshire was tough. It was just, I don't know. It's not my kind of hiking, climbing straight up rock cliffs and back down. And it was so wet. I don't know.
It didn't feel like hiking.
Yeah.
It just felt like you were climbing and then swimming, and then climbing and then swimming.
So that was tough. That was probably the least favorite parts.
If you want a specific name too, one mountain in mind was like the Wildcat
Cliff or
Wildcat Mountain. It goes down into Pinkham Notch right before you go up to Mount Washington, up Mount Madison.
So we came down the Wildcats, and that was just a frustrating day anyways, I think.
Yeah.
For multiple reasons, and then we finished there, and we didn't want to finish there. We were supposed to try to go like 5 more miles that day. So that one was just a frustrating day. So it sticks in the mind as like probably the worst day on trail.
Yeah.
Probably one of the most frustrating days on trail.
That was one of the days where we were like thinking about quitting.
Yeah, coming down Wildcats. I mean, if there was more of that, luckily, 2 days after that, we had one of the most gorgeous days on top of Washington, and we did that whole trek, and it was absolutely amazing. So, I mean, it kind of washed out, and you all right, you start remembering that instead, and keeps you going, but.
Yeah.
And then favorite parts, like I said, we kind of already talked about that, but I think a lot of Virginia was gorgeous. I liked hiking in Virginia. You know, you hear a lot of hikers talk about the Virginia blues, but I think that's just something that they all say because everybody else says it. But I don't know. I didn't have a problem at all with Virginia.
I actually thoroughly enjoyed it. It was very nice. It was how long was this? There was maybe like a 2-day section.
Yeah, after.
Was it after the Triple Crown or before it?
No, it was after.
Yeah, after the Triple Crown, there's not much to look at.
But before Grayson Highlands, there was like a 2 or 3 day span there that was pretty boring. You know, not much is going on. You're kind of like, Virginia. But then that's only 2 days, and then all of a sudden you're in Grayson Highlands, and it's like amazing again. So, but everything before that, I mean, and then maybe the first day before you get to the Shenandoahs. But once you get to Shenandoah National Park, all the way through the Triple Crown, which is the biggest chunk of Virginia, that whole section is really nice.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, I love Road Mountain that day up there.
Yep.
We had perfect weather for it, which I'm so glad we did. I really wanted a nice day there, and we got it.
Hump Mountain, specifically for me, I love Hump Mountain now. We were up there once before. I remember it being amazing. We got there, and it was still amazing. It's definitely amazing on a clear day, though.
Which is probably tough to get. So there's probably
especially on Road Mountain.
You probably see it on everybody else's videos where it's just a foggy, cloudy, rainy day, kind of like it was for us on Big Bald. Because I've been there twice, and it's always been cloudy and foggy and rainy. So we're gonna have to go back up there and see what that view's like on a nice day one day. But yeah.
Hump Mountain, check it out. 360 view. It's very cool. And our any hostels that stick out or views, like just not sections, but just like a specific view.
Yeah, the views. What's that one in Maine or New Hampshire?
New Hampshire.
Looking at the presidentials.
Oh,
Mount
Height. Height. Yeah.
That one had probably the best view in New Hampshire, I think. Mount Height. We had you're basically right across from the presidential, so you just have this amazing panoramic view of the presidentials in Mount Washington. And the camera, what I could get on the phone camera is not that great. So, but it was absolutely incredible being there. So that's on the list to go back. I'm gonna try and go back there, maybe with the real camera, and get some nice pictures from there. But
very early on in the 100, there was a place called Barren Ledges. I enjoyed that spot because it was our first real good view. I mean, that's probably why I remember it specifically, because it was just the first one. But it was just a very cool view, because Maine is just different terrain. It just looks different, especially if you're from the south. But yeah, Barren Ledges, it was just really cool. And up there in the 100, like there's no civilization, there's no roads, there's no houses. So you're looking out for miles of just trees and wilderness. It's very nice. I like that spot.
The Shuck Stack Fire Tower coming out of the
Yes.
Smokies was amazing.
Yes.
So definitely don't miss that either way if you're coming up or going down. It's just a short little side trail. It was definitely worth going to.
Yep.
Any of the, what was it, like Wayabald that had the tower?
Yeah.
That one was really nice. There's a lot of good views.
There were the one after Uncle Johnny's.
Yeah, going south from Uncle Johnny's, you look down over the Nolichucky River.
It's a good spot.
That is a great spot.
And it's uphill, but it's like a mile. So if you're nearby and just wanted to go check it out, you've never seen it, it's nice. It's nice to just go look at it if you wanted to. But and best hostels. Any hostels that stick out?
Yeah, so we didn't do that many hostels.
Yeah.
But all the ones we did, I think they were all nice. They were all pretty good.
The one that first comes to mind is Shaw's.
Yeah, the first one we stayed at.
It was the first one, but it really was. Even looking back after being on the others, it was a nice hostel. They were very friendly. They made you breakfast.
It's got the whole gear shop and everything. So all that was right there. You could basically resupply without even leaving the hostel. Mm-hmm. It's a big store. Hostel of Maine, we stayed there. That place was really cool.
Maine Roadhouse?
Yeah, hostel, was that what it's called? The Maine Roadhouse? Maybe that's what it's called.
Oh, okay. I thought Hostel of Maine was just a different one. But
the Maine Roadhouse, the one we narrowed into.
Yeah.
So the Maine Roadhouse, that one was nice. Boots Off, all the way down here, was really cool.
Yeah.
We stayed at a bunk there, and it was
nice. They had nice bunks.
Yeah, they had those private bunks.
Yeah, like curtains. I know other hostels do that, but that was the only one that we stayed in. Because most of the time we got private rooms anyways. It was cheaper, or like only a little bit more expensive to split a private room between us than it was to each buy a bunk. So we got a lot of private rooms, but yeah. Hostel around the bend. I mean, that private room is nice.
That one was
the
nice.
bed was comfy. Yeah. It was a very comfy bed.
That was a nice spot.
Yeah.
And free ride into town.
Yeah, it took us to
it was a brewery, I think, and they had food like tacos and stuff. So yeah.
Very good food.
Yeah.
Yeah.
From the ones we saw, I mean, they were all pretty nice. So, but yeah, I'd say hostel around the bend, boots off, and then the two in Maine. You know, they were all really nice spots. And then there's even some that we didn't stay at, but we still like we went to Mountain Harbor, in Roan Mountain just to resupply. It's a great looking place. If you go in the evening, they have dinner served there also, but not until the evening. There's what's that place in Caratonk that kind of drove us around? They pick you up for free even if you're not staying. And they took us in there. We were able to do laundry and take a shower for free. Wasn't that one? That was one that they let you do it for free.
Yeah.
Even if you're not staying. But they also had a resupply spot there, so we could do that. And then they helped us find. That was the one where we missed the canoe ride across the river. So they helped us find another person to take us across the river. So that was a great place. We didn't stay there, but it was a nice place to stop in. And yeah, there's several places that we stopped in, but didn't stay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was all of the written questions. I can look for last second questions, but I think that pretty much wraps it up.
Well, cool.
Yep. Oh, why did we not do the approach trail?
Why would we?
Yeah, I mean, they were asking about the falls. Like, why didn't we go see the falls? But
I don't know. We saw a lot of waterfalls.
We didn't want
We
to.
were done.
We didn't want to.
So there's a parking lot that's just 1 mile from Springer on the AT. It's a Forest Service road, so it's not an easy access to it, but it is there. So that's where we met. My wife and daughter. So they met us right there in that parking lot. We just go to Springer and we come back. Yeah, so if you did do it, once you got to Springer, you'd have to go 8 more miles to get down to the state park, Amicalola State Park, and I don't know, we weren't doing that. So we got there and we were done. I could see how it would be helpful. It'd be like starting in Baxter when you have to go 5 miles just to start. If you're getting dropped off, it's a lot easier to get dropped off. So if you're starting there, I could see how the approach trail would get used more. But we finished there. It's in the fall. The road was fine. We got picked up at Springer, so no need to do it. Right?
Right. I did not want to do that. I was ready to be done.
Well, cool. Thanks, guys. We appreciate it. Thanks for the questions. I hope it helps. Hope it answers some things you may be wanting to know. And if you're trying to plan a hike, maybe that'll help. But yeah.
Yeah. I just wanted to say thanks for all of the positive comments too, because I read every single comment.
Man, there was a bunch.
And there was a bunch.
There was a bunch on our last day.
Just to find questions and stuff. And I enjoyed all of them. Everyone was so supportive. A bunch of people that we've met along the way commented. So it was nice meeting all of you. And yeah, just thanks for all of the support.
Yeah, it meant a lot. It really did.
It did.
A lot of, on hard days, it kind of keeps you going too, because you're like, oh wait, we've got this whole community we started on YouTube, so we got to see this through. But no, it was good. It's definitely good, and we definitely appreciate it. Yep.
Yeah, I've actually got some trail angels.
Oh my gosh.
So yeah, the last week, our videos were delayed, and we were finished by the time that these came out. So I haven't got to say them yet, but I'm going to say them because I just
shout them out.
Shout them out. All right. Krista. All right, I just wanted to make sure it's right. Darren and Krista. I've got a couple. We've got Randy, Jim, and Carmel.
Awesome.
Oh, and Marine. There we go. That's it. Oh, Patricia.
Oh my God.
That's it.
Is
That's
that
it.
or
That's
not?
it. That's it. That's it. Oh, it's all good.
Yeah, but now is it?
It's it. So thank you to everybody.
Yeah, that's awesome. We really appreciate it.
Yeah.
It definitely helped out a ton.
Oh yeah.
So
Helped me a lot. So
very good. All right, guys. Well, until next time. Thanks for watching. We'll make a gear video. We'll look at the finances a little bit too. So we'll have a couple other videos come out after this. But until then, thanks for watching. We'll talk to you guys later.